Hello everybody, I'm Vlogmasing tonight. I think it's still tonight, the 17th, from bed because I'm tired and I think I might be getting something like a flu or something. I just don't feel good. Anyway, tonight's Vlogmas question, I pulled it and read it and I was filming it earlier. And the question is, what's the most memorable thing you ever did with a friend at Christmas? Um, and I couldn't think of anything. Dead space. You could hear crickets. I mean, I could not think of one memorable thing I've ever done with a friend at Christmas. And I still can't. However, I can remember a memorable thing I did with friends, a group of friends at Christmas time. And it was 1977. I was working at a shoe store, a children's shoe store. And our boss had a tradition of taking his employees out to dinner for the holidays. He was Jewish, and he'd take us all out for a holiday dinner um, at a nice restaurant. That year, we went to a restaurant called the Refectory, which has hence burned down. But it was a really nice restaurant. It served American and French cuisine. French cuisine with an American spin, but very beautifully cooked and prepared and plated. And the place was really neat. It was just this little jewel box of a restaurant. It had a kind of an antique gay 90s sort of theme to it. Lots of late Victorian furniture and brick walls and beautiful patterned carpets, a lot of polished brass and stained glass, and these shelves that ran around the top of the place that had old books and musical instruments and stuff on them. There was a lot going on. It was very busy, but it was beautifully busy, and I loved the inside of the place. I think I probably only ate there. That might have been the only time I ever ate there. I had friends that worked there through high school, this and that, but I just remember being enchanted by the place. Well, so of the people that I worked with there at the shoe store, I had three really good friends. An older woman named Jo, and I say older, she's probably 10 years younger than I am now. She was probably in her early 40s when we were working together. And she was awfully cool. And a young man named Alan, who was just a couple years older than me, very sweet guy. And a girl named Christy, who is the aforementioned Christy of the wild New Year's Eve party hangover night. we managed to do a lot of interesting things together. Anyhow, so I was with friends at this really neat party, and I remember part of why it's so memorable is I drove there in my very first car that I ever acquired for myself. It was a 1970, I think it was a 1970, it might have been a 68, it was probably a 68, Plymouth Fury 3. It was a badass muscle car, all beat up, and I think I bought it for, $500 from the boss I had before, the guy at the shoe store. And it barely ran, but I was driving it, and I felt cool because I had just gotten my driver's license. I didn't get it when I was 16. I waited till I was 17. Anyhow, so I drove myself to this thing, and I was wearing a long matte jersey dress. It had kind of a cowl neck, and it was just this long column of black matte jersey, and the shoulders were kind of cut in, so it had kind of these sexy open shoulders. It was sleeveless. Just a beautiful thing. I can't remember the shoes I was wearing, but I was wearing my mom's opal and diamond cocktail ring. It had a big opal in the center with little diamonds around the outside, and I wore it on my middle finger because it was too big for my other finger, so it seemed kind of elegant to me at the time. And I think I had my hair up. And what makes it memorable, that outfit and that get-up I was in, was that, you know how Andy Warhol used to say that everyone was going to have their 15 minutes of fame? I think 15 minutes of fame is what he said. maybe seconds. I think it was minutes. Anyway, every woman has her 15 minutes of being at the absolute pinnacle of her physical beauty. She's has never looked lovelier and probably never will. There's this time that you reach in your life. And I think that night was my time. I think I was probably as beautiful, physically beautiful as ever. And I don't think I ever achieved that again. Because, you age and you lose your baby fat in your face, and all the things that happen as you mature, you become beautiful in different ways. But in terms of photogenically, mathematically beautiful, I think that was the night. So I felt, I sort of was aware of it. I wasn't really aware of it. But I sort of had a glimmer of what that meant. So it felt like a special night for that reason as well. It was special because I ate bouillabaisse for the first time. And I had cioppino before because we're Italian and that's a kind of a staple fish stew. But the bouillabaisse I'd never had, and I just loved it because it was so buttery and the broth was lighter, and they served it on like a sourdough, big sourdough loaf that they had cut and buttered and put the stuff on top of it. I mean, it was incredible. It was so good. And there was wonderful desserts, and as I recall, we were all drinking wine, even though half of us were underage, and that was very cool. And then when the evening was over, he gave everybody like $100 or something. This guy was very generous. And when the evening was over, we all were driving home. My friend Alan needed a ride, so I drove him home, and in the process I managed to spin out at the busiest intersection in our town. It had rained, and then it was very, very cold, and the streets were really icy, and I wasn't a very experienced driver. And I came into the intersection and hit the brakes, and boy, we spun around. I am so lucky that there weren't any cops around, because we'd all been drinking. We were all probably legally buzzed, and it could have been a very bad situation. But as it turned out, it wasn't. And I drove my buddy home, and that was a really neat night. I felt like an adult for the first time. It was the first sort of adult thing I had ever done where I wasn't, an appendage to my parents. I was doing it just on my own. I was kind of a late bloomer. I was very reluctant to go out into the world. I was sort of pushed out into the world. And so that was a really memorable night for a lot of reasons. No sugary snacks tonight. I don't feel good. And tomorrow will be a better day. I just know it. So, happy Vlogmas, everybody, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.